I'm Jeff West, and I'm the president-elect, and I'm from ESU 13 in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, which is the entire panhandle of Nebraska, 11 counties.
And so we got to, we found out, we know Ray Richards. Ray came on last year and was one of our guests when we were in New Orleans. And so we said, hey, we know who your boss is, and can you do us a favor?
Absolutely.
But you know, it's really interesting. This is my second AESA. David's come to many.
I've been, yeah.
I work for a school district in David's, in Phoebe Bailey's.
Oh, yeah, Phoebe.
Yeah.
So Phoebe's our boss.
She's savvy.
And but I have to tell you, this is a wonderful organization. So what's it like knowing you're about to helm this massive, great family?
Well, first of all, it's an honor and a privilege to be asked to serve in that position. But I think the best thing about AESA is I think you feel it when you come to the conferences and you're around the people that are here, that it's really kind of a family, kind of a home. They're there to support you. They're there to help you. It's not, kind of a stiff, cold organization. It's really a very welcoming, warm, family kind of atmosphere. I think you feel it when you go to sessions, when you come to the conference. I think people are helpful. They go out of their way to talk to you. So I think that's different from other organizations that I belong to.
And it's really interesting. We went to the regional breakfast this morning, and I'm always impressed that last year was, like I said, my first one. This organization is constantly striving to make it better for themselves and their sister agencies around the United States, and their schools and the students. And everything comes down to, what are we going to do to make it better for the students? Mm-hmm. And I noticed you're exactly right. It's like a family affair. It's like we all get together and go, okay, here's our problems. Now how are we going to fix them?
Yeah, and I think we're willing to listen. You can see that kind of in our redesign that we went through as an organization, which is, I think it hadn't happened for 20 years. So it was time. And so part of that redesign is, how do we do outreach? And how do we make sure that we're strengthening our state networks, that we're strengthening regional networks, conversations, just like you saw at the regional breakfast.
Right.
And the kind of feedback we have, the kind of input we have, we were collecting all their suggestions and ideas. And so I think it's, how do we make sure that the National Association still meets the needs of why we're here, which is our regional ESAs, and then eventually schools and kids.
Right.
But yeah, the focus really is about learning and student achievement, and then how do we help?
Yeah. So talk to us about your specific ESA, some of the things you guys are doing, some of the things that you're really excited that your team is coming up with, and the services you guys are offering.
Yeah, I'd love to. We're unique in Nebraska in that we're required to do certain things, all 17 ESUs. But then there are different things that each of us do based on what the needs of our schools are. So in our area, for instance, we have an alternative ed school where school districts contract to send kids to our alternative school. We have an online virtual high school so that they can have access to classes anytime during the day. If it doesn't fit into their schedule, some of the more rural schools have one math teacher. They can teach calculus at this time. If you can't take calculus or pre-algebra or algebra 2 or whatever when it's offered, then they can take those courses from us.
Yeah.
So we offer that. We also just recently were awarded the Head Start grant, early Head Start grant for the entire Panhandle, which was a big change for us. That was not something that was on our radar, but there were some partners who came to us to say, Jeff, would you be willing to do this at ESU 13? There really isn't anybody else who we think can do it as well as you. If you don't do it, somebody else is going to get the grant from another state that doesn't understand Nebraska.
Right.
And so that was very different for us and unique, and a change that you won't see in any other ESU across the state. Recently, having conversations about a day treatment center, regional day treatment center, because we just have certain needs in the Panhandle, but there aren't a lot of kids and a lot of problems, but there are just enough that, how do you make it efficient?
Sure.
When instead of having 100 kids that you could draw into a particular program, we maybe have 15 to 20 spread out over thousands of kids.
Right. Well, and I would think that is a very big and unique challenge. It's very different to have 100 students in a very populous area versus, like you said, 10 or 12. And I think it was key that you brought up, I don't know how most people envision Nebraska when they envision Nebraska, but when you talk about it, and as Mr. Richards was talking about it earlier, and you talk about you're in the Panhandle, you're in the quote unquote little square of Nebraska. That little square is thousands of square miles.
14,000 square miles. Yeah, it's
You know, on your map, yes, it's this big, but so and so I think that's I mean, it really has got to be a challenge when you've got a very small number of students spread over this large area. How do we reach all of those students so that they get the services they need?
It really is about almost a kid for every square mile. So, about 14,000 kids, 14,000 square miles. We have 3 offices. You can drive from one end of my region to the other. It takes you about 4.5 hours to drive without stopping. Our fleet of vehicles just keeps growing. We have, I don't know how, probably have 40 or 50 cars in our fleet. I have to add 3 cars a year because that's how fast we're running them out of the other end.
Sure.
Because we'll put on hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles in cars every year. So we use technology a lot.
Yes.
Just to overcome that obstacle of time in the car. Because obviously, as you know, when you're contracting with schools, the ticker's running. And so schools aren't really all that wild about paying your people 2 hours in the car to get to them. Then they spend a couple hours with the kid, and then you're paying 2 hours back home again. So they're paying for 4 hours to get 6 hours of service.
Right.
And so how can we use technology to better serve kids and our schools more efficiently at a cheaper cost?
Right.
Well, which brings us to your distance learning.
Yeah, it's huge for us.
It's huge for you guys. And I think it's really amazing how you're providing the needs for a plethora of students' needs.
Yeah.
Because you've got a lot, even with just 14,000 in that range, though. That's a lot of different needs that you're definitely filling by the services that you're offering.
Yeah, and our schools are very supportive of the use of technology. They actually came to us and said, we'd like you to utilize it more.
Right.
For my advisory meetings with superintendents, we used to drive to Scottsbluff, which is their central office, and they would drive from all over the Panhandle to that meeting. Well, can't we do distance learning, and let's do it every other week?
Right.
So, and then they would say the same thing for professional development. Why is it that our folks have to drive to Scottsbluff? Can't we use a bridge? Can't we use Zoom? Can't we use some of these other things?
Right.
Because our folks can't miss that much work to come to meetings at Scottsbluff.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that we're just like, they came to us and said, we really need you to really push the envelope when it comes to technology.
Yeah.
And so now we do.
Awesome. Well,
That is awesome.
Our opinion, the insight that AESA has to bring in a president-elect with your insight to keep moving this organization forward is what keeps this organization at the top of its game.
Well, I always learn more from them than they'll learn from me. It's a real honor for me to be around people who have such passion for what they do, and I learn a lot every time I'm with them.